Good morning. This is Kenneth and Heather with the Advancing Equity Coalition, here to give you a quick recap of what went down at last night's Committee of the Whole meeting. Heather, how are you doing this morning?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's a little gray and rainy, but that's all right. So, can you give us a quick overview, Heather, of what was discussed during last night's school board meeting?
Yeah, so last night was a committee of the whole meeting, and it was really the whole meeting was a CDD update, which is exciting because we have been asking you for that, right? So just to have 2 full hours, 2 hours and a little bit, just to hear everything that's happening about the CDD. So what we learned was like what enrollment numbers are looking like now, and kind of a lot of the early results of the first lottery that happened, and then kind of some of the things that are going to happen in the second lottery. We also spent a lot of time learning about kind of the key performance indicators that the district is going to use to measure the success of the CDD, right? So there was a lot of programs and activities and things that they're going to do, and then they said this is how we'll know we're successful in this area. We watched a lot of that. Um, then we saw an amazing video by students from Northeast Middle School talking about how they wanted to be seen as students. And then that kind of led us right into like the equity PD plan that is going to be happening for all teachers over the next 3 to 5 years. And then we had board questions and comments about kind of all of the information that they heard. It was a lot of information. It's a very information heavy committee of the whole.
Yep. And so, speaking of, I want to share our slide of the night. So, this piece of information I think is a really important snapshot around what is happening around the CDD and if it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. And so, I think ninth grade placement is just one indicator. There are many, many indicators that, as Heather mentioned, they discussed last night that will be important to track. But as we take a little peek into whether the CDD is supposed to be is doing what it's supposed to be doing, we can take a look at ninth grade placement and seeing, are we getting closer to what we say we want as a city? And the big thing here is looking at, is our high schools going to start to have equal populations, or leveling the populations across high schools, so that all of our high schools can be comprehensive high schools and really start to offer the things that they need to offer our students. Because right now, what we know is, for example, North High is not able to provide the same type of offerings as many of the other high schools across the city. And so, because of the population. And so, what we're starting to see here is that because of the CDD, we have a much bigger North High class than what they usually get. And so, I think that's really exciting. And we're pulling students from the south side of our city. Specifically, you can see here Southwest and Washburn, to really start to equal out some of the playing fields and start to see some of the other school populations increase. And so, that, I think this is our slide of the night, just to give you a quick and dirty snapshot around, like, okay, are our placements starting to work and better serve students across the city? So that's our slide of the night. And so, let's go into our favorite segment, our most valuable moment, our do better moment. So, Heather, do you want to share your most valuable moment from last night's
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah, so last night my most valuable moment goes to Candace Logan. We don't often get to hear from her at school board meetings, but I so appreciated just getting this glimpse into the plans that she's making for our all of our teachers and our staff to have equity professional development over the next 3 to 5 years. That's not just a one-off. And I think, one thing that we need to remember is that our district is making the financial decision to invest, right? In not voluntary equity PD, but like in every teacher. So when we require staff to do training, that means they need to be paid for that time. And so when we are saying we value that training, we want our staff to have it, and we're spending all of that money. And what I heard last night during the presentation was just the amount of work that Candace is doing to make sure that that is quality work. And so she gets my most valuable moment. What was yours?
So, my most valuable moment was the video from the Northeast Middle School students. I thought it was super powerful to hear middle school students talking about what they observe in school, and then also what they want to see. And I think it allowed us to get a better understanding of what they're experiencing in kind of the current state, but also their visions and hope for the future. And so I thought that was really strong, and I think it was great to hear from students and to name the racism that they experience, and to really ground us in the necessity of the professional development, the equity professional development that Candace has been working on. And so I thought it was a great choice. And it was just great to hear from students directly to name the inequities and the experiences around having you know um, racist experience in their classrooms, and to feel like teachers, I think a student specifically said, teachers treat white students like they're better than the black students, and that they're smarter, and they see that and feel that and experience that. And I think it's important to recognize that it's not just adults saying this, like students are experiencing it. And so we need to just do better by our students. And so I thought it was a great choice. um, cool, so let's hop over to our do better moment. Do you want to share your do better moment first?
Mine's kind of general, but I just think, when I think it's kind of just generally speaking, I think the district has done a lot of bold moves during the CDD. We've tried in a lot of ways to change the experience for students of color, but I think our city is just, even though we went through the reckoning and we were the epicenter of that, and even though like the trial for Derek Chauvin is happening right now and all of these things, it's still, the numbers to me early on for like some of our north side magnet schools still really reveal that we are comfortable um, isolating students by race and zip code, and that it doesn't seem like white families, and I'll say this for myself, I don't see this trend of white families kind of doing the thing where they're like, I'm gonna have to give up some things in order to make this better. I see a lot of conversations like the bus is too far and this is too early and I want to do it, but this and this and this. And so at the end of the day, I think like it's on white and or privileged folks to think about the conditions that exist for black students, for students of color, for students who don't have means, and all the ways that our city makes sure that those intersect. So I think that's my do better moment. Like I just don't see our city, and I'll speak specifically for myself and name. I don't see enough white parents living the values that we are saying that we're living and that we want for our city. What's your do better moment?
So my do better moment, thanks for sharing that. I definitely feel that, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about that in our longer video for sure. But my do better moment is also a bit general. I don't have a specific person or moment to aim this at, but I just could not believe that we had that whole presentation where we talked about, a bunch of different things, from equity PD to, the key performance indicators to enrollment. And we had no discussion about special education students. Not a single time was special education students even mentioned. And so we've had different folks come on to talk a little bit about what is happening with the CDD and special education. And last year, during the process of the CDD, it really felt like the CD, or that special education, was an afterthought. And I thought last night was just another example, and maybe even cemented that we're not even measuring, according to these initial KPIs that we saw last night, we're not even measuring what's going on with special education. And what type of access is being created, what type of academic rigor is being created, what are we going to do something different, better for special education students? What are our goals for our special education students? Like, I just thought that was unbelievable that this has been the part of the CDD that's been the hardest to understand, the hardest to name, because there's been a lack of transparency and understanding around it. And again, last night there was an opportunity to talk about it, and there was nothing about special education. And so that was my do better moment.
Yeah, I think when we can go into it a little bit more in the longer video, but we've been asking specifically for like, what are the numbers of seats at the magnet schools? What are those going to look like? When will we know that? And like, I think that we've heard some level of detail, but I would say from the groups of parents that we know that understand special education, that have, been experiencing it, and that intersectionality of race and class and special ed, all of those things, we just I know that there were many parents who were looking for more information last night.
Yeah, I think it's frustrating that we also can't get the district to make any public statements or comments around what is happening with special education. Like we just need a promise to be able to like hold you accountable to. And so last night,
Mhm.
we know that Senior Officer Moore asked the board to hold them accountable, but it's hard to hold the district accountable when, especially around special education, when you're not making any public commitments, you're not saying anything publicly about special education. No one knows what you're actually going to do. And so it makes it really, really difficult. And we've tried to provide opportunities for the district to, talk about special education,
More than once.
and it's just not happening. And so, if anyone's listening from MPS, you have an opportunity where we want to be a partner and help you, you know, figure out how you want to engage and share information about special education, but it's just not happened at this point.
Mhm.
So that's it from us right for now. Check out our longer video if you want to hear us go into some of these topics a little bit more. But thank you for listening.
Bye.